All right. So, welcome everybody to the first ever Prolix RC podcast. It's John Barron, owner, operator, Prolix RC, two-time national F1 roar champ. I got Nick Skinner here with me.
One
We're
side of the
both,
camera.
yeah. We're both actual second generation racers, which I think is kind of interesting. I mean, shit, I started doing this in the 80s? When did you start? Maybe early
2000.
90s. Sorry.
For me, it'd have been. I mean, my dad started off in the slot car stuff, and then we got into the RC stuff kind of when I was younger, and then we got out of it, and then got back
Yeah.
into it, and then my dad did some oval stuff. He raced oval a little bit, and then did a little bit of the road course stuff, and then when he worked at Thunder Power, that's when we kind of really started getting into it.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of cool aspect that we'll have here. You know, Nick's got some industry inside knowledge and stuff like that, or just a different perspective. So kind of hits both sides of it. I think I think one of the things that we started talking about that you actually turned into a a big a bigger idea than what it was at the time. Like we just shot the shit. We missed going to a race at Drew's track and at pro level, and we're like, shoot, we could have just like made a 1 day thing out of it. They had qualifier and mains on Sunday. We're like, shoot, we could have just shot up there. It's 4 hours away. And you're like, why don't we make it like do more of them? That's kind of, I mean, that's what you hit me with the other week. I was like, okay, that's a damn good idea.
Well, then, but it also comes down to not even just that. It's also the fact of, you look at the industry nowadays. No one travels for local weekend races anymore.
Right, right.
Back when I started racing, you always saw people traveling.
Oh yeah, club
People
racing was the
always
only
go.
thing to do.
Well, but there were still big races. You had
Yeah,
Scotty that had the Novak race. You had the Snowbirds. You
yeah,
had Cleveland. You had the Reedy race. For
yeah,
the on-road side, and then at one time the nationals for Aurora were actually a big deal.
yeah.
So people
Well,
could
see,
do things.
I think the Roar Nationals are becoming a bigger deal again, or they at least feel like a bigger event than what they were a couple years ago.
But I think that's only because of the people who are holding it at their tracks.
Yeah,
So you have
yeah,
EA when he had it. So EA got out and promoted the race
a
and
lot.
set everything
Holy
up and
cow.
did a bunch of shit. And then when Drew got it the next year, he did the same
Yeah,
thing. They actually promoted it, not Roar themselves, not any
right.
of them. The track owners went out and pushed for people to come to their track to race. So I don't think it was necessarily the event per se of
Yeah,
why it was a big deal. I think
yeah,
it came down to the track owners and what they did and where their step in the RC industry is. EA and Drew have huge voices in the RC and have
yeah.
big following. So that if you're going to go to their track, you're going to get a high level of racing there.
Right, right. Dude, especially
So
Apex. I mean, we have what, half a dozen national champs there. EA, myself, Kemp who's huge. Uh, Justin, I don't know if Justin's won anything. Matt has his son. Skeen may have won something. Uh, I don't know if there's any others that. Well, I mean, what we had VTA in there, and that was one locally.
yeah,
No, it wasn't. Not this year. Sorry, I'm thinking the Southern Nats was one locally.
yeah, Southern Nuts was one locally.
Yeah, I don't remember who won. I can picture his face, but not the name for who won VTA at the Roar Nats in 2020. Yeah, I mean, well, that's half a dozen right off the bat. I mean, Drew is, the X-Ray team manager, and he usually wins when he travels.
Yeah, it's just, but you know what you're going to get when you go to there.
Right.
So I think that's why people went. They didn't necessarily go for because it was the Roar Nationals. They went because they were backing the people who owns the track.
I mean, really, it kind of became that the track owners took a big enough stake into it and promoted it to make it a race again.
Exactly.
So I'll be curious to
And
see how it does this year.
yeah, because it's in what, Maine or something like that. I can't remember where it's at.
I believe it's West Virginia.
Maybe that's where it's at, West
Coastal
Virginia.
RC. It's Coastal RC. I think that's West Virginia. I don't know. I looked it up
Yeah,
yesterday. It's the 10-hour drive from us here in the borough.
yeah. I don't. I mean, it's still soon enough, and with everything going on with finances, there'd probably be another race I won't make this year.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then not making some big races and stuff has also got me looking at other things of you know how much it costs to go to big races. I
Yeah.
mean, to go some of these big races has cost me anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 to go to these races.
Yeah.
Where if I look at some tracks that I can travel to that are a lot closer within say an 8-hour drive that I can make a weekend out of it,
Yeah.
I'm spending half the amount of money.
Yeah.
And instead of giving some of these big events my money, I can maybe keep a track open. So that's kind of my thought on where I'm going to be going this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you got a chance to see JQ's video this week. He put out a new YouTube video kind of
No,
talking
I don't
about.
really follow much of the off-road side of stuff, but
Yeah, it
Chunky
was
Mac
more.
Doc was telling me about that.
Yeah, yeah. It was more of a general like RC video, and one of the things he talked about, which I've always thought, like club racing is racing. Like if club racing dies, there won't be big events anymore because everyone will quit.
Well, on
Like,
the same side, if certain big races go away, you won't really
yeah,
have club racing because no one has anything to push to go to anything.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think you'll still have club tracks, but it just won't be the same. Like I don't think you'd have Apex if it wasn't for big races. Like Apex, I feel came about because EA needed a place to practice and race to get ready for big races.
Well, and I don't even think, I mean, yeah, but I also think there was enough following here.
Yeah,
I mean, shoot, when I moved to Tennessee from Vegas, what, 3 years ago now, when I first started coming to Apex, I mean, Apex was packed.
yeah,
I mean, between off road and on road, I mean, there was a bunch of people that used to come all the
yeah,
time. So even if I think the big racing stuff was, I mean, with him having the hobby shop, the online store and being able to do the hobby shop stuff, it was definitely a smart investment to go into that way.
right, right.
Then now bringing the slot car stuff into, I mean, slot cars getting huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of funny. JQ mentioned in his video, he's like, dude, what happened to slot cars? You don't see that stuff anymore. I'm like, bro, actually, if you go that way, there's a drag strip and two on road or a road course and an oval.
Right?
I was like, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
you don't got to go very far.
Right? Oh shoot.
But I
But
mean,
yeah,
I don't know. Go ahead.
well, another thing, because I was talking to my dad about this yesterday, and we kind of talked about how big races were getting a little too big, but at the same time, he was like, so his point was, all right, so big races are getting too big, so you increase the cost. Well, like that might be okay for off-road stuff, but I feel like on-road, we're already there. Like what? What's the cost for snowbirds? Like $90 for first entry, something like that?
So right now for snowbirds, first entry is $95,
Yeah.
and then each additional entry is $85.
Okay.
So you're saving $10 to run a second or a third class.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, he was trying to make that point. I'm like, we're already there in on-road. Dude, snowbirds is already at like 250 entries, I think, for both on-road and oval. So I mean, even while it's a lighter year, they're still doing good. So I don't know if necessarily touching much in the big races is really going to make a difference. I think
Oh,
I know we were talking the other day about you were thinking we go down in price a little bit, but I mean we're still getting entries. Because
Yeah,
that's
but
usually
but the thing is you're getting entries for big races, but you don't get anything in club races.
right,
So
right.
you don't get people are going to save up their money, right?
Yeah,
And go to these major events or
yeah,
big events,
yeah.
and there used to be so many big events, throughout there. You had at one time you had IIC that Scotty was doing, but
Yeah.
that is seemed to be gone now. I don't
Well,
know if he's going to bring that back or not.
it's kind of flipped into Cleveland, although
You know,
Cleveland was already a big race.
yes. So, but you got Cleveland, you got Snowbirds. Drew kind of took over the dates when Scotty stopped doing the Novak race.
Oh, really? I
So
didn't know that.
yeah, so Scotty used to do the Novak race. The time Drew does the Huddy race.
Okay.
So when Scotty stopped kind of doing that because he converted his on road track to dirt,
Oh, dude,
so
you're
it went
talking
off
a long
road.
time ago.
Exactly. So he went dirt, and they kind of stopped doing the on road carpet thing.
Yeah.
So when that kind of went away and Drew opened up his tracks, he kind of took on that date, and that's
Right
kind of
on.
where that kind of came from.
Is that where the hoodie race came from? Is that
Yeah.
now the hoodie
So
race?
yes. So it used
Okay,
to be the
okay,
Novak race that
okay.
Scotty used to do, and they used to get huge
I see.
entries for it.
That
And then
makes
you had the
sense.
Reedy race, and then you have the Roar National, carpet and the asphalt stuff.
Asphalt, yeah.
So you have so many major events throughout the year, and everyone, saves up to go to those events
Yeah.
because, at one time you used to get the international crowd that would come.
Yeah.
IIC used to get the international crowd hard at IIC, and then it kind of like sizzled out a little bit, and they didn't come as much. Um, but the Reedy race, you could go to the Reedy race, in the invite class. That's all it was mainly international drivers, coming from overseas. So you
Yeah.
were able to see all that stuff. Snowbirds gets it a little bit, but
I mean,
that's
well,
where,
granted, the last snowbirds I've been to has been, shoot, 4 or 5 years ago. They had a pretty big
yeah,
international crowd, considering it was, I mean, I consider it a more of a local U.S. race.
yeah. But I mean, that's what people are going to save their money to go do.
Right.
So, people aren't going to go and travel to other tracks unless you live in
Yeah.
California. I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of like California is their own little thing. I mean, besides like Lex Tyler and I don't know who else, but Lex is the only one that kind of travels out of California and kind of goes and does everything else. But the
Okay.
California guys kind of just they stick to California
Yeah.
and they travel up and down the coast and you know
Well, I
race
mean,
at their event.
there's probably quite a few tracks in California, though.
Yeah, but I feel like there needs to
Yeah.
get to a point where I get that things got to get paid for these major events,
Right.
but these guys make a lot of money to put these races on
Yeah.
if they get the entries.
Well, I mean,
So
on the
where can
other
you
hand,
make
though,
it
too, if they didn't get money to put on the races, they want to put on the races either.
exactly? And I
So,
get that, but where do you get at a point where you stop being a little greedy on the entries? First class, I completely okay. You want to charge me $100 for first class, but why am I still paying $80 to run a second class? I'm already paying you $100 to run one class.
yeah.
Why not make it $50 instead? Because maybe at a major event where if you have 200-300 entries
Yeah.
and I have the time to work on my cars, I might run three classes. But
Honestly, so I think when it comes down to it, I don't know if it's really that big of a deal. Because if cost is the issue, then people just run one class. But I'm pretty sure most everybody goes to a big race and runs two classes. I
yeah,
mean, because I'm looking at going and I'll probably run two classes. I mean, I kind of wish I knew what the schedule is like ahead of time. I probably just look up last year's and see, kind of decide because I don't want to run like something early in the morning and then wait 4 hours to run my next class. I mean, it might be kind of nice. I could get a nap.
I mean, yeah, it give you time to. I mean, that's how Cleveland was for me.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean, that
mean,
might not be bad.
I ran three classes
Yeah, I
because I ran one and then I did two that were kind of back to back. So I mean, I had plenty of time to do whatever I wanted.
yeah. Wasn't one of them 12 scale?
Yeah,
Yeah, dude. I don't know.
I went
Well, I would
I
say
went touring car, or it was F1. It was like F1 and 12 skill were the close
yes.
ones, and then TC was like at the end of the day.
TC, yeah. See, for me, at least when I went to indoor champs, 12 scale and another class was all I could take. 12 scale required so much work between rounds, just getting it going.
Yeah.
Like, nah, I can't do 3 classes. I couldn't have done it, man. Then again,
That wasn't that
I
bad.
can't do 2 touring car classes either. Dude, I can't tell you last time I had 2 touring cars, make a change to one car, go out and run it. It was the wrong freaking car. Made it to my TC car instead of my GT car. I'm like, oh, that's great.
Yeah. That's why you run 3 different types of cars.
Right, right,
Because then when you make a change, then at least you're doing it to the car you hope you're making a change to.
right. I mean, at least with the Automatic 12 scale, I feel like I could take that car to a race and just run the shit out of it and not have to work my ass off on the car.
Well, that's what I feel like. I think if you get a good decent base setup on it, that'll work.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could be fast with it. I don't think you got to do much to it.
I mean, shoot, I still remember launching the thing 6 feet in the air, like almost eye level with me on the driver's stand. All right, so maybe a little more than 6 feet, and landing it, and then driving away, no issues, no tweak, nothing. Dude, any other car, that'd have been no, just go pick it up and go, fix it.
Yeah, you would have definitely messed something up.
Yeah, I was pretty
But
happy
I don't
about
know.
that.
For me, I look at the money side of it, especially for struggling right now with a little bit of money, because I mean,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
everything gone, it's affected my
yeah,
job a lot.
yeah. I
So
can definitely see that, especially right now, to help revive big races, cut down on second entry fee costs. I mean, we're COVID's still
I
going
mean,
on.
before in the past, I could work a bunch of overtime,
Yeah,
and I could do a lot of things. And working in the airline industry, this shit's hit me hard, because it's we've dropped a lot in flights and everything's gone
yeah,
down. So all the overtime I was able to get and all the extra hours I was able to get and being able to find and pick up shifts and do all that stuff, it's not there as much
yeah,
anymore. So like I
yeah,
could plan myself and say, all right, cool, Snowbirds is coming up, Drew's race is coming up, race at Apex is coming up, whatever
yeah,
it was, and go, all right, for 2 weeks I'm gonna kill myself,
yeah,
have the money, and I can go. But
yeah,
now I'm sitting back and I'm looking at someone who maybe wasn't in that type of position the whole
yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So now I'm like, oh,
I see what you're
cool.
saying.
Well, now I see what I'm, someone who might be salary or can't really get overtime.
Yeah,
You know, they might race a little bit locally at their track, but say they're 8 hours from us here at Apex, right? And
right.
they would come down and race at our track,
Yeah,
but they're not going to, because all the money they have to save is to go to maybe those 1 or 2 big events a year.
right.
So that's where I'm like looking at, some of the promoters and stuff of being kind of greedy.
Yeah,
I get you got to make money, but you got sponsors that give them a bunch of money.
yeah,
So you have all these sponsors that give a shit ton of money to put their names to these events. So they make money from that, which helps go pay for the ballroom, the carpet, the wood, and get all that stuff going through.
yeah,
And then they're getting the money from our entry. They're getting 200 entries, at almost $100 an entry.
yeah,
I mean, that's a lot of money,
yeah,
so you start adding all that up. Why not turn around and change the cost? You can still do first class at, $100 flat. I don't
yeah,
mind paying that for first class.
yep,
Include one set of handout tires. Your second additional class, maybe drop it down to, $50 or something like that instead of 80.
yeah. I think it would
You
definitely
know,
help people,
it it
at least in
it,
the
it
times
would
right
definitely
now.
help.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then, or you drop it down to where, your second class is, you know, so what set of tires at most big events is like $30,
yeah,
you know. So maybe even do $60. You're paying $30 for the set of tires, and then you pay another $30 for your entry.
yeah. Uh, the only hard part with the tires included, like some classes don't have tires you have to buy at the track. I mean, VTA is a prime example. You want someone to go and race VTA or shoot even F1 half the time. You want them to go to a track
12
for a
scale.
big race. 12 scale they do it for like stock, but yeah, 13.5 12 scale, mod 12 scale. It's not. There's no spec tire for it. Or if
Exactly.
it's like when it's a spec tire for for F1 and VTA, it takes so long to scrub in a set of tires. You don't want to walk into a fresh track with fresh tires. It's just a nightmare, and it's not fun.
Oh, it is. And then so you take that 80, so second class, say your second class is 12 scale. So now I'm paying $85 for a class and
Yeah,
I'm running 13.5 12 scale, and then I still got to bring my own tires.
yeah,
So where is it at that point? I mean, so now a 12 scale guy has to pay more than a guy who's running sedan.
yeah. But
If
I
you
mean,
look at it, because the
that's the
sedan
inherent.
guys, his tires are included in the entry
Oh
fee,
yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
where the 12 scale guy
yeah,
isn't. So the 12 scale now guy's paying $85, but then now he has to spend $100 in tires.
yeah, yeah. You can't include the tires with the entry.
So I get, okay, if you want to include, you know, tires in the entry,
Yeah,
I think they've got to work on how much they're charging and what they're doing.
yeah,
Because with everything going on right now, with people not working, with everything going on, you I don't want to see it because I want to keep going to big races. But what happens if all of a sudden you get a huge decline in big racing this year?
yeah. I definitely don't want to see that either. I know we had a lot of cancellations last year. Uh, I'm not necessarily sure if it was entirely financially related. I know a lot of them were, area related where they had certain restrictions where they just physically wouldn't allow them to have the gatherings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely don't want to see big racing
Eh,
go away.
I'm sure it was probably a 50-50 of a lot of things.
Yeah,
I mean, it's who
yeah,
knows what their area was allowing, who knows
yeah,
family members, what was going on, and all that stuff's understandable. It's just right
yeah,
now, who knows what's going to happen with people. Like that's like for me right now, I've already had to miss, races that I've gone to the last couple of years and that I've wanted to go to this year,
yeah,
and I had planned to go to this year, but
yep,
with everything affecting, I can't afford to go now.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think it kind of comes back to, well, circles back around to club racing. Because like you were talking, and like I'm in the same situation. There's plenty of people that came to Apex, and I haven't been to their home track. I mean,
Exactly.
I've
And
been
that's
to a few, but there's quite a few that I haven't been to. And dude, that's like every couple months or like once a year, every other year, my dad's like, dude, I'm getting out of RC, I'm quitting. I'm like, no, no, you don't quit RC. It's like you're not like while we're in RC to race, we're in it for the camaraderie. We're in it for the people. And like I want to
yes.
go visit people's local tracks. Hang out with them there, have a good time.
Well, I think that's something when we kind of noticed some things going on with whatever, you and I kind of sat down and kind of were talking about that, and maybe kind of re-changing up the racing thing for us. Maybe
Yeah,
start traveling to some more local tracks, and maybe start trying to put a little bit money back um into businesses, into tracks
yeah,
that are open instead of some of the
yeah,
big race stuff. Because if people aren't traveling to these tracks, and if people aren't putting money into those tracks, we can put our
yeah,
money into our local track every weekend.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But at what point does that hit a wall of it's not good enough, and we
Right.
need people to come race at our track,
Yeah,
to keep us open. And it's not even just to keep us open. I mean, it's to keep the hobby also alive.
yeah,
You know, so what if instead of going to so many major events of the year, maybe pick two major events. All right, I'm gonna go to, for me right now, it looks like Cleveland's gonna be my major event if it happens this year, because
right
it's
on.
far enough out
Yeah,
that I can start putting money aside for Cleveland.
yeah,
So I'm like, okay, that's the race, the big major event that I'm gonna go to this year. But I could do 2-day weekend trips all day long because it's cheap,
yeah,
with something that's a 4 to 8 hour drive. If
Right,
it's a
right.
day drive, within a day drive, I could do 2 days. Drive up Saturday, go hang out at the track, figure out what the local guys there are running, run their club race the next
Yeah.
day, and
Yep.
then drive home.
Yeah. Well, shit, dude.
And
Back in the day, growing up, we drove a minimum 3 hours one way to go racing, the club race, because that's all we had. I didn't live 15 minutes from a track like I do now.
well, that was me in Vegas. When I
Yeah.
was in Vegas, the only tracks that we had were off road.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of off road, and I had to buy off road, but I
Yeah.
wasn't a big off road racer.
Yeah.
You know, Granted, with my when my dad was working at Thunder Power, I kind of ran a little bit of everything because we had to test motors and test whatever and hand motors out, so we kind of had to do a little of everything. But if I wanted to run on road or if I wanted to do something, my dad and I were getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving to California,
Yeah.
doing the 3, 4, 5 hour drive to whatever track we were going
Yeah.
to, and then turn around and drive back same day. So we did, 8 to 10 hour drives every day,
Yeah.
club race, and then
Yeah.
come home.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that was normal. I I want to say I miss it, but I don't necessarily miss the long drive. I miss the going to the different tracks, meeting the different people, and I feel like I've missed some racing experience. Like I can
Yeah.
set up my car for Apex all day, but I realized the other day, like
You mean
I
have
can't.
Kemp set your car up for Apex?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why I got an Automatics because I have people locally to help. But
Yeah.
like I I when I raced uh, F1 real big 2 years ago, I drove everywhere, and I was able to set up my car for every track. Now I have a totally new F1. It's set up fantastic for our track, but I don't know how it is when I travel.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's the little
Like
thing.
and I kind of miss some of that, but what I'm just missing is the experience. You get up in
Yeah.
the morning, you get that little bit of excitement. It's not
Yeah.
like
Hell
right
yeah.
now where you wake up, you roll out of bed, you drive down
roll
the
out,
street to your track. You know,
roll out a bad
you
trip down the street, fall into the track.
exactly, and then you do some practice, some club racing, and you're with the same guys every day. And
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things where you hang with the same guys every day. Racing with the same guys, that it
Yeah.
it kind of becomes stale.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me
You
wrong,
know.
I enjoy that, but
Oh,
personally,
and
I found myself getting lazy.
that's what I mean by stale.
Yeah.
Everything kind of just gets, you get almost in a comfort zone.
Yeah.
So then sometimes when you go to these big races or you go to do a travel race, you're kind of out to lunch
Yeah. Yeah.
compared to the guys that who travel all the time.
Yeah.
When you have the guys that have been doing it for years, like EA's been doing it, and Drew and
Yeah.
Handlick and um, all those guys, Lex and these guys who are traveling all the time.
Yeah.
When they go to these races, they're quicker on picking things up. And Max and all these guys. I mean, Max freaking, you know, I don't know how many times I've walked by his pits and he's got, 10, 12 skills that he's working on,
Yeah.
plus sedans. And then he's still able to go out and put it on the track and compete and race,
Yeah.
because he knows by having that experience of going to all these different tracks of, all right, what steps and everything he needs to do in his race program.
Yeah. I mean,
But
speaking of Mac, I don't even know where his home track is. Like, I've never been to his home track.
I think it's Austin Town.
Austin
So because
Town.
he lives in Pittsburgh, and Austin Town is that one that's just north of Pittsburgh, but it's on the border
Okay.
between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. But I think it's on the Cleveland side.
Wait. Pittsburgh, Ohio?
No, wait,
Because
no,
Cleveland's
Pittsburgh,
in Ohio. Pittsburgh, well, I guess I'm pointing the wrong way
Pennsylvania,
for the camera. Up
Pennsylvania,
that way.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay,
So
okay.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I believe, right? Yeah, right here. And then he drives north to the border of like Ohio, I think.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I got to look at a map. I'm bad with that stuff. I got to
Yeah,
Google it all the time.
I'm trying to picture it right now.
Yeah.
But but either way, but I would like to also get a point where maybe we can get, shoot, go down a budget, rent a van, and get Kemp and maybe a handful of guys here,
Yeah.
throw in on a minivan or a box van or something, roll all our gear in the back, and then
Get an
just go.
Apex van.
Yeah, and just go and maybe start doing some races at some other
Yeah.
tracks. I know Myron last year got a group of guys to go do some of the VTA stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That was
and you heard,
freaking awesome.
because Myron's really good at pushing and getting people to support
And
and do
shit.
stuff, and promotes it great. So he was able to get some guys here, and then you hear the stories about how much fun and stuff they did, and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I'd like to get back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I do
I've
remember
gotten
them coming
lazy.
back.
Yeah, and I've just found like myself the last 2 years, I would say, like moving here and then once I got comfortable, that now that I had a home track,
Yeah.
I found myself getting lazy and stale, and just it got to a point where I wasn't having fun anymore.
Yeah. Well, shoot, last week you're saying, screw it, I'm hitting from my house.
Well, that's because I moved 7 minutes from the track, so I literally could just drive down there, throw the car on the track, drive home,
Charge your
work
battery.
on my car, charge my battery, and literally sauce my tires, drive to the track. By the time I get to the track, my tires are time to wipe off.
Yep. Yep. Perfect.
Dude, I'm just gonna buy a scooter, bro. Go back and forth.
Get you a little golf cart.
Yeah, buy a scooter, put a little basket on the front, put the car in the basket, and my radio.
That's even better. Oh, shoot.
But I think maybe getting back to traveling, going to other tracks, might bring the fun back again. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm still even at now. I mean, you know, uh, I was running with X-Ray RC America, as a lower tier driver, and being part of the team was great, and I had fun, and
Yeah.
you know, seeing the atmosphere and being in that atmosphere was good. But for me personally, it just started getting to a point where I just wasn't having fun in the industry. I needed
Yeah.
change. I needed to do something. So,
Yeah.
I got a hold of Drew, and I told Drew I just wasn't having fun, and I wasn't gonna stay with RC America, and I needed to do something different. And so I completely just got rid of my stuff because I was still at that point thinking about quitting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking about staying in there. I mean, you and I have already had talks, conversations about all that stuff, and I just wasn't at a good place with just an RC. I
Yeah.
just wasn't having fun. There's so much drama in the industry right now that's going on, and I was seeing a lot more of it. And, just seeing, certain things happening, and just, it was just kind of affecting me a little bit. So I got a two different cars. I went with Awesomatics, and it was interesting and exciting at first. I was like, oh, great, here we go, and getting kind of whatever. But I'm still at the point where it's like, you know, I love racing with all the guys at Apex, but I'm just getting to that point where it's like just being in that routine.
Yeah.
It's not as fun. I
Yeah.
still have fun hanging out with everyone and talking
Yeah.
and bullshitting and joking and having all that. I mean, that part I still have fun with, but it's the RC racing part of it that I just wasn't having fun. So
Yeah.
I think,
Well,
I think
I
this
think,
year,
I mean, I was thinking about that. For you, like, you want to be competitive. You want to be, racing for a win at our races, and like you were the odd man out. Like, because I was thinking too, all right, what's the best, what are the best touring cars out there? Well, I think really the best touring car is the one that has the most support from the fastest guys at your track.
or just even not even from the fastest guys, just even support in general, because
Well,
you can bounce ideas off everyone, and you can
well,
find new ideas and different
yeah.
ideas.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it has to be, I feel like it has to be local support. And I think that's why Awesomatics does
Yes.
so good at our track, because we have, Kemp running it, and Kemp's run that car up and down and sideways. Justin's back. He's running it. He's done all kinds of crazy stuff with the car. Skeen.
Yeah.
Skeen's made more setup changes in that car than I think I've made in setup changes my entire life. So I mean,
Yes.
we have that support, and like I even tried the Serpent car, and we had a handful of guys running it, but I don't know. For me, it was too much time chasing the whole car and not having an idea where to start.
Yes,
I say that though, but dude, you haven't seen the new Mugen MTC2?
I've seen it. I've seen pictures
No,
of
no.
it.
I saw it in person. I held it last week. It's
Oh yeah,
freaking
because
awesome. It's freaking awesome. Yeah, yeah. Jackie picked one up. I think a few other people are picking one up. Shit, honestly, I may pick one up. It looks like looking
but
at it.
that's the great thing about being a privateer and not being on a team
Yeah, yeah.
is you
Well,
can
dude,
try you can try multiple different cars.
I think that's better for some people than other. Like for me,
Yes.
I've enjoyed it because I like to tinker. I like to tinker to a certain point, and then I want to actually like be fast with something. So I mean, I think that I don't know. It goes back and forth for me.
But I also think I mean, in my opinion, and I know people, you have all the guys out there, you have people who run Awesome Max. Oh, Awesome Max, great. That's all you got to have. And I've joked about
Yeah,
it since I've
yeah.
gotten the Awesomatics and all that stuff. But I think you can be
Automatics.
fast. I think you can be fast with any car,
Yeah,
with the amount of time and that you can put into the car. Because if you look at a lot of things, like if you look at the US market and you look at the European market, right? So you look at the European market and you got Bruno and Alex that could
right.
go out there and, dominate and win and
I don't think you
any
can compare that
weekends.
though, because like
No, no, but
that's mod. I think you can put any car out there in mod and be fast with it.
okay, I mean, well, you had Jan in stock.
Yeah,
I mean, Jan in stock was out there winning all the time with it.
yeah,
So you have those guys that show that they can, and they were Awesomatics and all these other cars. The
yeah,
US market, I think, X-Ray, Awesomatics, music, I think any car can still be fast if you have the dedication to that car. And any
yeah,
weekend, anyone can win with any car. But I think it also comes down to if you find the car that fits you. At your moment, like for me, like X-Ray, I had pretty good, I was doing pretty good with it at one point.
yeah.
I started getting up. I was starting to get into A mains at big events. F1. I kind of got screwed at IIC the one year. I should have won that one. You know, but
Minor details.
it's still salty. But so
Honestly, well,
I at the
I
time,
think
but I was having fun.
yeah, I
I was
think you
having
get
fun. We
stale with
spent a
the
lot of
car.
time on that shit. Exactly.
Yeah,
So for
it wasn't
me,
necessarily that the Automatics was a better fit for you. It was a change of pace. Like you were
exactly,
able to throw down a car and go faster. I think anytime you can throw down a car and go faster, it's the right move.
because I had the support here. I mean, literally,
Yeah, yeah,
I went here, Kemp.
yeah.
I want to go fast.
Well, I mean,
You
the
know,
reason why I put it like that is because Jackie literally built the car to kit specs, threw it down on the track, and bested his Automatics time
yeah,
with 6K diff oil in it. I don't think I've seen anybody run less than 8.
yeah. I don't know.
I mean, at least Automatics wise. I think most of the time we're running 10 at our track. He's like, yeah, that's the first thing I want to change. But I mean, it was. I think the Automatics was getting stale for him. Because
Yeah,
he's not going to go back to the X-ray because in his mind he's been there, he's done that. It's tired. He's rated. He needs a change.
exactly. And I think at a point where if you even, I think even the pro guys, even people who are fully
Yeah,
sponsored and getting the deals, I think there's a point where you start getting stale.
yeah.
And sometimes change is good. I mean, I've seen more of it on the off-road side than the on-road side.
Oh yeah, huge.
You see more of the shaking up, and it's sometimes you see people go to another brand, and it's
Yeah,
like a new life comes into them, and then
oh
all of
yeah,
a sudden
yeah,
it's like boom. It's because I think if you sometimes get too comfortable with something, I
yeah,
think sometimes it shows.
yeah.
And that's where it was for me. At a point, I think I was running X-ray for the last five years, I believe.
I don't know. It was
I think
before you
I think it
came to
was.
Apex.
Yeah, and
And I mean, you were Apex for 3 years.
and I think it was like almost 2 or 3 years before I came here.
Yeah.
So I mean, so 5, 6 years that I was running the X-ray, and I think for me as a non-pro guy
Yeah.
who doesn't have certain talents that some other drivers have, and that's to the track time,
No.
whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I want to get into that because I've heard way too many times. Oh man,
We've, we've
they're just so talented. No bullshit. Bullshit. Like everybody's like, "Oh dude, he's just so fast, he's gifted." No, no, dude. Kemp has put in more hours. I'm sure he put in more hours last week at the track than most people have put in. Well, I'd say all year, but we're not even 4 weeks into the year yet. But like, the
in a
dude
month.
puts in work. The dude puts in a lot of work,
Oh
and
yeah.
like that's literally the only reason I got remotely fast. Cause dude, as soon as we moved to Apex, we were running. I was still big off road. We were running carpet off road with slicks only. I spent maybe a month or two getting a setup on my car, and then I literally just drove the exact same car, the same setup, week after week after week, and all of a
Oh
sudden,
yeah.
like you just pick up a little bit.
Well, and that's like Kemp. I mean, I go on that same thing, with Kemp, and it's like, you hear the stuff in the pits, and
Yeah.
oh, Kemp's got EA, and EA's helped him, and EA's this, and
No,
EA's that.
no, he's
I
not.
don't know how many times I've sat in that pit when I first moved here,
Yeah.
and I started getting to know Kemp and you guys, and hanging out, and Kemp was mainly running off road at the time. He wasn't really running on road,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And Kemp would ask EA a question. Hey, how do I do it? I don't know. Figure it out.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's what it was. And then it got to a point where Kemp was running tires, and then EA walked in one day and went, "You're cut off. So you
Yeah.
need to make your tires last." So then
Yep.
now he was running
Oh yeah.
tires that were, not even hooking up and bald, and he was making
Yeah.
it work
Yeah, and that's
because
when we switched to pin tires for off-road. I can't believe how many times I'd go in there and he's running bald-ass tires and clicking out hot laps. I was like, dude,
and
you got to
it's
be
just.
kidding me.
And like you said, it came down to the time. I mean, he was putting
Yeah,
so much track time in, he was
yeah,
making his dad go broke,
yeah.
literally.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think the key is similar to mine. Is he went out and he literally put in track time without changing his setup.
Oh yeah. Well, he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, yeah, he had no clue what he was doing. So he went out there, he put laps in, and he basically learned how to drive, and then as he got faster and could keep up, then he started making changes.
And well, it was like the same thing when he converted and went to the on-road side.
Oh
It was
yeah,
like, oh, I want to run on-road.
yeah,
EA got new cars. He goes, here, one of my old cars, basically. It should work.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
And Kemp did the same thing. He just
yeah,
put laps in. He didn't really work on the car. Then he tried to start working on the car. He
yeah,
got told to figure it out day in and day out.
yeah,
I mean, still even now, it cracks me up when I sit in the room. It's, everyone thinks that EA's, gave Kemp this huge gift of all the secrets.
yeah.
And
No, no,
unfortunately, it was no.
I've
And
got
now
none of the
it's the
secrets.
opposite. It's the opposite because Kemp's figured it all out by putting the time in that
Yeah,
EA's trying to get the secrets from Kemp.
yeah, yeah. See, actually, EA did the smart thing. See, he's like, no, no, I don't know what's going on. Figure it out. Now EA doesn't have to figure it out anymore. He can be like, hey, Kent, what do I change? You know what I mean?
I pay your bills.
Exactly. He's like, it's my car's doing this. What do I change? He's like, this, and this. Okay, no problem. Done. Oh, that was
And
better.
and it comes down to, I mean, I take some of our local guys.
Yeah.
We have one local guy for I think a year. You and I have told him to stop working on his car.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Put
It was
put a
more than a
setup
year.
in. Yeah, I know it was more than a year. I was being nice, but you know, and then when after we finally started yelling at him and telling him to stop because we
Yeah.
weren't going to help him anymore because it's like, look, you
I mean, it
keep
wasn't that
asking us.
extreme, but
I know
yeah.
it wasn't that extreme, but and we're like, dude, just do it, and he did
Yeah.
it, and then all of a sudden, in 2 weeks of not touching his car, putting a
Yeah.
setup in that just works,
Yeah.
he got faster, he got more consistent, and
Yeah.
he was able just to go put track time down because he wasn't fiddling with his car.
Right, right. And,
And then we told him some other things to do, and then I mean I get money situations and all that time, and
yeah.
I know we joke with him, and he knows we're joking, but
Hope.
and then he I hope he does, but he finally did it and did these things, and then last time I went to the track he told me, and I asked him, I was like, so how is he? Oh, much better. And I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, I know, we've been telling
He
you
actually got
for
faster.
2 years.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to it doesn't matter really so much of what it means as track time. Like, you need to
Yeah.
go out and you need to get the track time.
I agree. I agree. So
You know,
I actually kind of want to talk about this because so Alex's video, he talked about a bunch of good stuff this weekend or
it was the video I
this
sent
week.
you.
Yeah, yeah, the video you sent me. He kind of goes over like where to stand on the driver's stand.
Oh yeah,
I don't,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Preparation for a race
yeah,
is basically kind of what it was.
but one of the things that like I've kind of discerned how I practice, which is interesting because I don't know how much time you've spent to figure out how you practice. But like when I go out and
Shitty.
practice on like a Wednesday, I personally like my first battery pack, I don't care because everything's getting ready to go. I'm just getting used to the track again. But like after that, I start like, I tighten the well, here we go. Like I'll try a different line through the sweeper here or over here or back here. But like I'll try the different things, but when I go around to make the lap, I kind of try to predict what my lap time's going to be. Because I'll know through that lap whether I've hit a pipe, glanced a pipe, gone out wide. Like you should know how long that's gonna or how much that's gonna affect you on the track and your lap times. Because if you don't know what that's gonna do to your lap times, all you're doing is going out there and driving circles basically. I mean, you might as well
Yeah,
be on an oval because you're not making a conscious effort on your line, at least for me. So for me to
yeah,
make a conscious effort on my line, I'm gonna go by on like this. What EA is at 10:0 on this layout now. So I'll go around the track. I'll like mentally count all the little taps, bobbles, or if I have a really clean corner, I'll be like 10-4. And if she doesn't give me a 10-4 when I go around, like I adjust. Like I use that information to build what my lap time's going to be to figure out the fast line on the track.
yeah. When I practice, I try to my lap times would be all over the place because I
Okay.
break the track down in sections.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of working on the track in a hole,
Right.
right? And I feel like a lot of people try to do this and it was for me. I got lucky with my dad working at Thunder Power.
Yeah.
I got to pit with some really big names. I got to when at one time I was running the Tamiya car, and I got to pit with Reinhardt and Victor Wilk and all those guys on the Tamiya team. And when my dad was sponsoring Paul, so I got to talk to Paul a lot. And
Fucking love Paul.
and meeting all these guys and being able to pick their brain, there was a lot of things that and Josh Searle and a lot of these guys, and some of a lot of things they said is being able to go, if you go out and you try to focus on a track as a whole, right?
Yeah.
You start forgetting about practicing on this section, and this section
Yeah.
because you're trying to process too much at one time.
Or you can't
So
you can't judge what a change on this corner and this corner did to your lap time because this could have been faster and this could have been slower.
exactly. So what I do is for my first couple of batteries,
Yeah.
I don't try to go out and be super super fast,
Right.
but I go out and I just try to make laps. So I
Right.
try to get an average time.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get down to, okay, you say EA's at 10 O's. All right, I can get down to 10.5s as
Yeah.
my fast lap. I'm consistent 6 and 7s, right? And then my next batter, I go out, okay, I got down to a 4. and now I'm still average 6 and 7s, but I can hit a little bit more 5s. So I use a couple of batteries and I kind of just run the track. I don't try
Yeah.
to work on this corner or that corner.
Isn't that
And
kind of what Alex
then
talks about when he starts too? He goes out
I
and
don't.
just lets get used. He just gets used to the
He,
track at first.
he
He doesn't try to
yeah.
hot lap it.
Exactly. So I go out and I try to get used to it. But what I do when I do that is I start noticing the corners that I start having
Right.
trouble on.
Yes.
So that, okay, I can get through this first half part of the track great. This
I'm
middle
curious. How do
section,
you judge that? How do you judge
um,
whether it's a good
how many
section or
times
bad section for you?
how many times I hit the wall,
Okay.
how smoothly I get through the corner. So am I
Okay.
having to stall the car a lot? Am I having to use a lot of brake? Can I roll through the corner well?
Yeah, that's a
If
good point.
it's so like on your screen coming through the sweeper and coming around,
Yeah.
right? That should be a pretty fast section.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to slow down a whole bunch. So if
Right.
I'm finding myself and I'm finding the car stalling out, then I'm not getting through that section very well. If I'm coming up to a tight section like a chicane,
Yeah.
and I try to watch on my days off, I try to get on and watch how Kemp runs the track, and I try to watch
Yeah.
how EA runs the track
Yep.
and how you run. So I try to pick how everyone's getting through stuff, right? So then I start breaking it down. I'm like, well, shoot, Kemp's almost getting through this without even stopping, or getting through this, but he's stopping the car really hard here,
Yeah.
rotating it and pull. So I kind of look at that stuff. Granted, my driving style might not be exactly like his,
Yeah.
but the car should be kind of close to how he drives,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because
Because
they're the ones making.
that's the fastest way around the track at that time.
So so then once I start noticing that in certain sections, all right, I got this section great. I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it. This section and this section, well, I'm horrible over here. I hit the walls all the time. I'm traction rolling. So then I'll take my worst section and
Yeah.
I'll work on that, because a
Yeah.
lot of times what I found is if I start working really hard on my worst section, because the rest of it I'm just cruising. I'm not trying to work on that section. So I just
Yeah.
try
You're
to
just
get
doing a
through
normal line through
to,
there.
to get to that section that I notice that there's times that all of a sudden everything starts clicking,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
sections I was okay at but I was still struggling, all of a sudden I'm getting through because I'm just getting through it. I'm making the laps and I'm coming through those sections. And I just take my worst sections of the track and I start breaking them down and focusing on them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's technically what you and I did when I got better at F1,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I think that's another thing too. Like once you feel like you're pretty good or you're lost and you're like, well, I'm not quite sure what my good sections are, my bad sections. Dude, we'll run together and you like if you're running with somebody that's a similar speed to you can literally go out there and be like, oh shit, I ate him up in this section. He ate me up on that section. And that's the stuff you got to work on. And you can,
Oh,
dude,
exactly.
there's so many times I've gone out there, I run with you or somebody else, or like when we were back at Thunder, I'd run with Dakota and we'd go back and forth and we would figure out a layout in half the time because of that.
And I think we've gotten a lot faster in 12 scale because of that.
Oh,
We see
definitely.
what EA does, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he goes out and just throws down these stupid laps, and we're like, what the hell?
Obliterates us.
And we're like, we need to get to that. But I think I've noticed, we've gotten faster at 12 scale because when we go out and practice 12 scale, a lot of times we do get the tracks to ourselves because people don't want to come out and run with the 12 scales, or
I
not a
don't
lot of
blame them.
people. A lot of people don't run 12 scales, so when we have our races and there's only 3 or 4 of us, I mean, if we're spread out enough, you
Yeah.
can kind of wait for someone or whatever, and then you can start to follow.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of times when we've come off from races and it's like, dude, you ate me up here, but
Yeah.
man, I pulled you here.
Exactly.
Or I saw you coming and catching me, and then all of a sudden I had to put the hammer down, and you start noticing little things, and sometimes it's better to go out and practice with someone than, like you said earlier, just go out and driving around in circles.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But you need a reason, like when I talk to Kemp, when he goes out and practice, what he's doing, whatever. I mean, granted, he jokes and goes, "Oh, I'm just going fast,"
Yeah.
but but Kemp's Tim's going out with a purpose for practice.
Right,
And
right.
that's what I think makes him faster every time. It's not he's just going out to run a car. He's going out, he's making changes to his car. He's going out and working on corners and trying to be smoother
Yeah.
and working on things. And I think, and that's a lot of things I think I lost too, was, when I wasn't in the head state because it just wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And it was showing on the track because I wasn't practicing with a purpose anymore.
Yeah.
I was just out in space. I was just showing up, throwing my money into the shop, going, here you go, and going out to the track. And I wasn't technically present in the
Yeah.
right mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if, people can get to that point where you go practice with a purpose, it'll just make you faster and better.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I had a bunch of stuff written down here. I didn't think we'd get to everything. But I mean, I think we covered a lot of good stuff, especially here towards the end. I think that's a good place to call it.
Yeah.
I think next time I wouldn't mind going into a bit more about, I don't know what I was gonna say. Oh, about setting up cars, things like that. Uh, New stuff coming out. We'll have well, let's see.
I don't know if you want to ask me about
This is the
setup. I don't know.
21st.
I don't know how to work on an Osomatics.
Yeah.
It's still sitting over on my pit table and hasn't been gone through since I brought my stuff home from the track and Kent built my car.
Yeah, yeah. We
So
won't talk about that. Well,
I'm not the guy for setup.
yeah. I think we'll have plenty of other good stuff. And I'm not sure when I'll be able to get this out, but we'll get it out. And I think after this one, the next one should have some info on our Aurora region race, which is coming up. So we'll have
Isn't that this weekend?
no. I don't want to get everybody confused. It's not this weekend. It'll be the weekend coming up when this comes out.
Oh, okay.
All right. But that's a good one.
Here. If you want, I can look up the dates for that.
No, I have a calendar here. It's going to be January 31st will be the main race day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be racing that either.
It's 7 minutes down the road, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I get my, I got tires. I think if I was to run anything, it'd just be 12 scale.
Yeah, just throw one in. I mean, plus 17.512 scale, I think it's going to be a lot less stress too.
Yeah, and the track needs to go back the other way.
Actually, they're working on the bump on the straightaway when we go backwards like this. It should be fixed today or tomorrow. It's already better, but I think he's going to try to zero it in and make it dialed, super dialed.
Yeah, I think EA said that I think they're going to switch the track the other way anyways for that race.
Oh.
I think.
I
he think he said they were talking about doing it.
Yeah, I think they're talking about it. I don't think it'll happen. I don't know.
Oh.
We'll see. We'll let everyone know next time. All right. Peace.